All right, so let's begin. We're going to talk about what Europe learned from the Middle East in the Crusades. So we'll start off by saying that the Middle East was pretty much the opposite of Europe during the Dark Ages. And again, when I say Dark Ages, Middle Ages, Medieval Europe, for our class, we'll just call it the same thing. For our class, we'll call it the same thing. So during this time period, the Middle East was flourishing, was doing very well, while Europe was having a lot of difficulties. And as we've talked about before, Muslim scholars, they were able to preserve and keep a lot of the ancient works from Greece and Rome, translated them into Arabic, and advanced them, and came up with ideas like we talked about with the scientific method, for example. So in the Middle East, they're able to advance the ancient Greek and Roman works during this time period. Dark Ages for Europe, Golden Age of Islam, the same time in history. They were able to advance the Greek and Roman works, especially with things like the scientific method. And as we saw from the Do Now, anatomy, study of the body. So what happens is the Muslims are building very impressive cities. They establish trade routes with China, Africa, and they've mastered a lot of technologies for traveling. Ships, compasses, and more. They've also mastered gunpowder, which originally came from China, was used in fireworks. They learned how to make guns out of it, and the Mongols used that and spread that on the Silk Road, and it came to the Middle East too, so they had gunpowder and guns too. So they were able to also advance technology and weapons. So the Europeans, they get their glimpse and real good viewing of the Muslim world. A lot of it is inspired by the Crusades, because more Europeans start traveling and seeing the Muslim worlds, especially in the First Crusade, but in all of the Crusades. The Crusades last about 200 years, from 1095 to 1291, as you put on your paper, from 1095 to 1291. And the Crusades helped bring Europeans out of the Dark Ages. The Crusades helped bring Europeans out of the Dark Ages. Because basically they see a civilization, basically the Muslim civilization, is more advanced than their own. The most obvious place to see the Muslim civilization be more advanced than their own would be Spain right here. Because Spain is in Europe, it's a Muslim civilization, and they have much more advanced cities than the rest of Europe has at that time. So through the Crusades, Europeans get new ideas, new technology, and they also see things like the Muslims are studying anatomy, the human body, and they don't have a problem with it. Where in Europe in the Dark Ages, we talked about our Do Now picture. In the Dark Ages, could this have happened? No. It could have, but then by canon law, these people would have been arrested by the church pretty much. And it would have been seen as being blasphemy to take apart a human body. It would have gone against the church. By the Renaissance, that changes. And they realize that studying anatomy, hey, we can learn more about the body. So, in the Crusades, the Europeans really get plugged into these international trade routes like the Silk Road that we already talked about. And they start seeing more goods come into Europe. We're going to move ahead. Oh, before we move ahead, let me tell you the main place where this is going to take place, and we're going to talk about it quite a bit, is Italy. So if you don't know, Italy is the boot. Italy in Europe is the boot, right in between where Europe up here and Africa. Italy is the boot. So it's a giant peninsula, which is why it was such a good place for the Roman Empire. What does it say right here? Lombards. Do you remember who the Lombards were for PowerPoint presentations?
Yeah.
Yep, they beat the Holy Roman Emperor.
Pope and the Italian merchant.
Yeah, the Pope and the Italian merchants. They were fighting together against the Holy Roman Empire, and that would be the Lombards. So, they were merchants, so they had more access to trade. Why did they have better crossbows and were able to defeat them? Because they were able to get that technology from other parts of the world. So the Lombards were able to defeat the Holy Roman Empire, and this is actually where a lot of the Renaissance will begin, is in Italy. And the reason why is because in Italy, they have more access to trade. They start getting the better goods, where the rest of Europe doesn't. And eventually, these goods and everything that we'll talk about in the next slide will start working their way into other parts of Europe. All right. Let's move on to commerce. So let's talk about commerce. When I say commerce, it looks a lot like commercial. So if you see the word commerce, you want to think commercial. What's in commercials? They're trying to sell you things, right? They're trying to sell you any products. They're trying to persuade you. So commerce basically means the trading and selling of goods. Whether it's, today an iPhone or whatever, Coke, McDonald's, whatever it is, that's commerce, trying to sell you products or goods. So commerce, products and goods, and the Crusades led to the Renaissance occurring. So let's take a look at the Crusades and how it helped create this. So what happened was the Crusades caused a constant demand of people are moving. So what happens, a lot of people in the time of the Crusades start moving by ship. So that means in Italy, they start building more ships and they develop a shipbuilding industry. But eventually people start thinking, hey, maybe instead of doing like a religious war fighting for God against infidels, why don't we start bringing some of these nice products back and selling them and making money? The picture, anyone know where this is? That's Venice, Italy. Venice, Italy is known as being a very romantic spot. You got your gondola boats right here, them steering it, the guy wearing the beret, whatever the hell, and going around all these canals canals that exist there in Venice. So this is Venice. Venice grows as a city during this time period. Crusades are launched in Venice. Venice becomes rich, though, because eventually people are like, well, let's bring these goods back. So they start building the city. And actually in Venice, yes, they trade a lot, but they're also pirates, too, like a ton of pirates. So in Venice, what's a pirate besides a guy that goes arr and has a hook for a hand? A pirate, by definition, is someone who goes by ship and steals things, pretty much. That's not the best definition, but is that pretty much a pirate?
Yeah.
You steal in a ship. So you have your ship, and then you steal things from other people. There were a lot of Venetians or people from Venice who did that. In fact, in one of the later Crusades, they went to the city of Constantinople, which was a Christian city. And they looted it and just stole everything from there and brought it back to Venice. Not everything, but stole a lot of things from Constantinople and brought them back to Venice. They didn't even make it to the Muslim world anymore. What was their real purpose? To get rich. So the Crusades had totally changed by that point. People were realizing, hey, there's more goods to the east, let's go there. So a shipbuilding industry starts, and people are demanding products from the Muslim world. Demanding products from cities like Damascus, Mosul, Alexandria, and Cairo. Damascus, Mosul, Alexandria, and Cairo. What do they want? They want goods like silk, precious stones, rubies, diamonds, well, not so much diamonds at this point, rubies, other stones, perfumes, spices, pearls, and ivory, which definitely would be from Africa. So the Crusades make the economy in Europe grow. More commercial goods come in, so the economy of Europe grows at this time. And what happens? Places like Venice, they're called Italian city-states, which means they're a city that basically runs like a state or a country. So these city-states are growing in power because they're trading goods. They're able to provide jobs to people in trading these goods. And think about it. You're a European peasant. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be on the farm with the noble in charge of you and the knights watching over you? Or maybe if I move to Venice or an Italian city-state like this, I can work in a market selling goods. Maybe I can even get on a boat and travel to one of these far distant cities and see something new and bring things back. Say you're a 16-year-old kid in Europe at this time. Which one sounds better? That's why I said that. All right. It's like, screw you, noble. I'm out of here. I'm going to go travel to another city and bring some things back and see if I can make some money. Yes?
Did he go to school?
If you're a peasant, probably not. But however, if you became a rich merchant, yes, because the Latin grammar schools were starting at this time. Okay? So, let's keep going here. So, again, other products that were brought in, I'll give you some more. Paper, soap, my favorite there, perfumes, glass, jewelry, medicines, and the most important product was?
Knowledge.
Ooh, I like knowledge, actually. I like that better. The most important product that you could hold was spices.
Oh.
Spices. So why are spices so valuable? Spices like salt, spices like cinnamon, spices like pepper.
Don't they help preserve?
They preserve food. Yeah. You going to say something? All right, they preserve food. That means your food can last a lot longer and it won't taste so bad. Yeah, they add a lot of flavor. I mean, you know that when you definitely, like, if you get any, like, white people eating Mexican food, they're not used to having those spices, and it's like, ooh, where's my hard shell taco? Anyway, give me my Donald Trump burrito bowl. Or taco bowl, or whatever the hell he was having. Isn't there so much wrong with that picture?
Yes.
All right, so Europeans quickly learned that spices like pepper and cinnamon are used to preserve meat, and those become incredibly valuable. Spices are incredibly valuable for trade. In fact, spices of this era could be compared to oil today. It was running the world trade at this time. And the Muslims didn't mind this because the spices came from India and Southeast Asia for the most part. So they were able to make money off Europeans in this exchange too for a while. That'll change later, but at first it's very good for the Muslim world too. But the Italian city-states, they're smart enough to realize that people want these things, so they start getting rich off these. And the Italian city-states are the most responsible for the Renaissance beginning.
Who?
The Italian city-states are the most responsible for the Renaissance beginning. I think I'm going to have